welcome back to another video. So this one is Troubleshooting EIGRP Lab. So this will be a series of 3 troubleshooting ticket videos, and we have a basic topology of 3 routers running EIGRP, and routers 1 and 3 are interconnected via 2 switches. We've got DHCP and inter-VLAN routing running on router 1, and the goal of these videos is to resolve the tickets. Now, they are resolved when the complaint in the ticket has been resolved and we have regained full connectivity within the network. So this is the basic topology that was in the lab. So as you can see, we have our three routers interconnected via the 2 switches. We've got PC1 hanging over to the side, and this is ticket number 1. So the scenario for this router 2 has been added into the network to increase the bandwidth for the traffic between R1 and R3, but we have an issue with router 2 not sending routes to router 1 or forming an adjacency with router 3. On a side note, PC1 should be getting that DHCP from router 1, and as a reminder for myself, the passwords on these devices is Cisco 12345. I know, very secure, but you know, it is a simulated lab after all. So I suppose we should think about moving into the actual scenario. Alright, so here's the Gns3 Lab. I've got them all configured with the configs. I didn't read them, so this is going to be a little bit of a scenario for both of us. I mean, I am recording these as part of my studies to recertify under the new CCNP criteria, so it's not much point in me knowing all the answers as I'm going through. So let's bring up the consoles. Alright, so we had the scenario that we weren't getting updates from router 1 to router 2. So let's have a look in our routing table and see what's actually in. So we have our directly connected 1012, we have 1023, which is being shown over there, but this is coming via 1612, so we're learning about this network via router 3. So that's not good. And then we've got the 1.1 network and 168.3, which is over here. So alright, so we've confirmed that router 2 is not sending us the link. Now if we use the show, what's that lovely command again? Think about it. Okay, sorry about that. There was a bit of noise started coming through. Now we're about to check out our neighbor relationship from router 1. So show IP EIGRP, and no, should be enough. So we can see here that we have a interface there on 00 and 1, 1, which is the 172.16. So it does recognize a neighbor there. So let's have a look at our protocols. So EIGRP, we've got no filters, we've got the standard K values, our ID is 111, and everything's at default with routing 10.0.12 network 16, so we've got all of them doing the right things. We have a passive interface on 1.2, which is VLAN 2 facing our host machine, and we have 2 sources. Alright, well that seems pretty standard. Now we know we've got information coming in from router 3, so the ID is there, summarization's disabled, and we've got, and it has only one neighbor, so it only sees router 1. So we're getting 2 things here. So on router 1 we had an adjacency formed with router 2, but we were missing the network from router 2 because it was being learnt via router 3, and router 3 doesn't have an adjacency with router 2. So seems we've got a few issues in at router 2, and for those that have just joined in the video series, I use Gns3 with the viral images for the labs. Alright, so ELG is 412, which is what we good. K values standard. Router ID is 111. We're on router 2. So the ID is wrong because that's what the ID is for router 1. So we have a duplicate ID issue. What else have we got? We have routing from 10.12 and 10.10.23, and it's only formed an adjacency with router 1. So why is it not forming with router 3? Well, first of all, let's go in and so config T and router EIGRP 412 and we want to change the router ID. Why isn't that? Be right if I could remember the commands. I've got to put EIGRP in there first, then router ID. Why? It's just one of those things. I'm getting old and forgetting. Alright, so router ID is now set to the appropriate ID, but there we have a change. But it is only with R1. So if we show IP protocols, we've got that going now. Router ID is correct. So what's IP interface brief? Okay, so we have them up and up. So 10.0.23.1. Okay, so let's show IP EIGRP interfaces. Alright, so 0.1 is not forming a pair at all. Alright, so let's alright, so the interface is up. It's a /24 subnet mask. Remember, you can't see the subnet mask in the interface brief. So that's telling us the address is configured correctly. So what else could it be? So, did we have a passive interface configured? We've got no filters. Variants, summarization is disabled. Alright, so what we need to see, debug EIGRP events. What have I gotten wrong there? Oh, it's not named, it's packets. so we are sending hello, received a hello. Alright, let's turn it off, you all, and scroll back up. So, sent with AS402, received on G00, sending, we're only receiving it on 00, so we're not receiving a hello packet from router 3. Alright. So, we've got router 3. Let's check show IP interface brief, and 23.2 is up and up. Show interface G00. It's a /24, so it's on the same subnet. Now, according to show IP EIGRP interface G00, nothing. So the protocol's 412 10.0.23.0.24. So, and there's no passive interface set in the protocol. This is an interesting one. Why aren't we sending routes up there? Alright, I don't like normally doing this, but let's have a look at the running config and see how it's configured for EIGRP. Well, would you look at that? Passive interface default. But when we look in our protocol, it's not telling us that we have default. Alright. So we basically need to create this, but for 00. So config t router EIGRP 412 and no passive interface and 00. There's our adjacency being formed. And copy run start. Adjacency being formed. So now, if we do a show IP EIGRP, we should have actually we'll do it with the debugging first. So that's received, sent, turn it off, and scroll up. So we're sending it out of 01. We received it on 01 and received. So we're getting it all in place. So we do a show IP route. We're getting everything, and we're getting their routing updates directly from router 3. So if we switch across to router 1 and show our routing table here, we should now see that 1023 is coming from both as an equal cost. So the distance is the same from both parties, which is vastly different from what it was when we started looking. Alright, so PC1, now as this is a virtual PC from within Gns3, the commands aren't normal, so we do a show. It's not got any IP address, so if we do a DHCP renewal, and we have now got a gateway and an IP address, so we should be able to ping the loopback over at 3.1. So that works. How about our 10.0.23.1? Alright, well, it seems we have connectivity around the place, and I think that will conclude. Now, what documentation would you generate? Well, you'd write up saying that we found an incorrect router ID on router 2 and we changed it to 2.2.2.2. We then found that the updates between router 2 and router 3 were blocked because of a default passive command on router 3, which wasn't showing up in the protocols for passive interfaces, and we resolved that by putting in the no passive interface G0/0 under router 3's routing protocol, and then we performed connectivity testing, and that basically would resolve ticket number 1. So let's bring this little troubleshooting lab to a conclusion, and I'll see you in the next video for ticket number 2. Until then, bye for me.